Netflix uses microservices, Amazon uses microservices. So your startup with 3 engineers and a simple product also decided to adopt them. Now your system has 12 services, multiple databases, and debugging requires asking 5 different teams with only 3 people total. So the question is simple. Did you need microservices or did you just copy them? This is how most startups look like. Begin with a monolithic, one backend application handles authentication, business logic, database access. That setup is simple to build, test, and deploy. As the product grows slightly, teams often start splitting responsibilities too early. Authentication becomes auth service, notification becomes notification service, and so on and so forth. This usually is not driven by technical necessity, but the idea of future scalability, this fallacy. The result is that simple in-process function calls become network calls. For example, a simple user sign-up that used to be a simple call in a local function now requires communication between multiple services over HTTP or even worse, RPC. What about Netflix though? Netflix did not adopt microservices for simplicity. They adopted them because they had to scale both infrastructure and organization. At Netflix scale, multiple teams work on independent parts of the system. If everything lived in one monolith, deployment would require coordination between many teams. This creates slow release cycles and high risk of accidental breakage. Microservices solve this by allowing independent deployment of the services owned by separate teams. The key point is that Netflix's architecture was a response to organizational need and traffic complexity, not a starting point. So often startups often adopt microservices before they have the scale that justifies that. The assumption is that early architectural decision will prevent future rework. Funny. In practice, this often slows down development and deployment altogether because each feature now requires coordination across multiple services. A simple change may involve modifying an API, updating multiple deployments, and ensuring backward compatibility. Also, debugging becomes harder because failure can occur anywhere in the request chain. Instead of checking one code base, engineers must inspect logs across multiple systems. This overhead is rarely visible at the beginning, but grows quickly as services increase and complexity increases as well. Microservices introduce operational overhead that is often underestimated. Each service requires deployment pipelines, monitoring, logging, alerting, and so on and so forth. Services must handle network failures, retries, and timeouts. This introduces additional complexity that does not exist in a monolith. Distributed systems also create new classes of bugs. Examples include partial failures, inconsistent state, and message duplication. These issues are difficult to reproduce and debug. As the number of services increase, system reliability depends more on infrastructure quality than application logic itself. This is not good. It shifts engineering effort from building features to maintaining system health. I'm sure this sounds familiar to some of you. What is the smart take? Microservices aren't inherently bad. Of course not. They are useful when system or organizational scale requires them. Large teams benefit from independent service ownership and deployment separation. However, most early stage systems do not need this level of complexity. A modular monolith is often more efficient. It reduces deployment and debugging complexity. The decision to split services should be based on observed bottlenecks and single point of failures, not assumptions about future scales. So if you are less than 10 engineers, please don't start migrating to microservice. To me, the lesson is that Netflix or companies like that did not start microservices. They evolved into them as scale demanded it. Most startups reverse this process. They begin with complexity they have not yet earned, like a website with 300 concurrent users or things like this. The correct approach, this in my opinion, is that to start simple and only introduce distributed systems, whichever architecture you can think of, when there is clear evidence that monolithic is not good enough. Architecture should follow constraints, not trends. So in most cases, speed of development matters more than theoretical scalability. A simple service, a simple system that ships quickly is often more valuable than a complex system that is future-proof. So please give a good think about migrating before you actually start doing it. As always, stay curious, not judgmental.